Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another amazing topic of conversation. I also want to acknowledge our sponsors, Ready Check Go program by Thermo Fisher and the Health Channel. So today we have Rabbi Guido Cohen. Welcome, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you.
And first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I know that you have a very cultural background.
So let's start with the most important. I'm married to Daphne, and I'm a father of Toby, Amos, and Eden. That's the most important thing that I can say. That's my biggest accomplishment by far. So that's who I am. I define myself first and foremost as a father and a husband. I was born in Buenos Aires 41 years ago. I'm a product of the wonderful network of Jewish day schools in the city of Buenos Aires. Argentina has the largest Spanish-speaking community, Jewish community on earth, and its Jewish day schools are truly amazing. I'm a lawyer, a graduate of Buenos Aires University Law School. Although I never practiced, but I passed the bar exams and everything, and I have that diploma hanging here in my wall.
What happened?
Don't worry, I don't practice. And I'm a rabbi, a graduate of the Seminario Rabbinico Latinoamericano, which is the institute that trains non-Orthodox rabbis in Latin America, the only one of its kind in Spanish. I have also spent a year studying here in the US, in the city of Boston at the Hebrew College, and in Israel at the Schechter Institute for Jewish Studies. I spent most of my career in Argentina in the field of education. I was the head of Jewish studies at the largest Jewish day school there, which is called Tarbut. And perhaps 9 years ago, give or take 9 years ago, we moved with our family. We left Buenos Aires and we moved to Bogota, Colombia. I spent 4 wonderful years there. I still have a lot of love for that country and for that city and for its Jewish community. We spent there 4 years, a little bit less than 4 years, until I got a phone call from someone here in Aventura. I was not planning to leave Colombia, but when you are a Spanish-speaking rabbi and you are offered the opportunity of serving in the holy city of Aventura, it doesn't get any better than that in my field. There's no better place for being a Latin American rabbi than Miami and specifically Aventura. So it took us a couple of minutes with my wife to decide that this
Just
was
a couple of minutes.
well, we came here for a weekend. There was a whole seduction program by the synagogue, making sure that we love this city. But you know the same way I know, when you are living in a city with 2,500 Jews, where getting kosher food or matzah for Passover is quite a challenge. And they bring you here and they show you Sarah's Tent and Kosher Kingdom, and they show you that even in the regular supermarkets you can get matzah in December. It's like, wow, this is a great place to raise a Jewish family. We fell in love with the vibe of this town. And there are so many things. The Maccabi games, for example, that took place last week. When you see all that, Jewish people from all different places in Latin America being and doing Jewish, not in the synagogue, but through sports and dancing and our connection to Israel. I'm sure you agree with me that there are very few places where you can raise a Jewish family like in Aventura. Actually, I don't know if you want to share with the audience, where did you convince me to record today, but we met at the parking lot as we were leaving the Aventura Cultural Center when a dear member of our synagogue
Your
was
community.
sworn as the chief of police by another dear member of our synagogue who happens to be the mayor of the city of Aventura. So that's quite unique. I don't know of many cities on earth where a Jewish mayor can swear in a Jewish chief of police outside of Israel, right?
I totally get it. There's a fact that says that Aventura has the most Jewish population per square feet besides Tel Aviv, and it's Aventura.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
little.
So that's how I ended up here. Although I still have a piece of my heart in Latin America, and I stay very connected with the Jewish community there. I try to contribute to the extent that I can to Jewish life and to Jewish education. And every time there's a conference or something, I try to travel either to learn or to teach. But we made the move and moved to the southern part of the US and at the same time the northern city in Latin America.
It's the second city of Latin America. So that's how it's known. But Rabbi, before I ask you, because our topic today, I wanted to touch on education, as you have been to your expertise. What happened with the law school? What made
What
you make that change from being a lawyer to being a rabbi?
So that's a very good question. I'll tell you three things. First of all, my studies in law helped me navigate rabbinical school much better because when you are used, Judaism has a lot of law, and in order for you to become a rabbi, you need to learn lots of books that are about the permitted and the forbidden, and who and when and what. And when you have already had the experience of learning secular law, that makes things easier. My wife was the one who pushed me into becoming a rabbi. I specialized in law school in international public law, and my dream was to be a diplomat, perhaps to one day be the Secretary of Foreign Affairs in Argentina. And my wife told me, you know what, as a Jew, you'll never achieve that. This country, there's still a lot of anti-Semitism. I cannot imagine a Jew succeeding in this field. Ironically, Argentina had a Jew in that position just a few years after my wife said that. But and she told me, like, you love Judaism, you love to serve, to educate, to teach. This is your thing. And yes, I would probably have made more money and have a more comfortable life if I follow the path of law, but my soul was here in Judaism and Jewish education. And also, I must confess that when I was in law school, I had a moment in which I saw that this was not for me. When I had to, in the last year of law school in Argentina, you have to do pro bono work under the supervision of an attorney. And one day we got a client who was someone who was trying to take away custody of the children from their parent, and we won that case. And I knew it was not fair, and that father deserved to share custody with the mother. But my job was to defend the mother and to win the case. We did great. We won the case, and I said, like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be defending people when they don't deserve it. I don't want to be always struggling with my values and my ideas and my job. I truly respect those who do it. I believe there's a need for attorneys in this world, but I was not ready. I was not ready for it. And I love what I do. I couldn't imagine
Oh,
myself doing anything else.
you're extremely respected in all the education part, the rabbinical part,
Mhm.
and that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah.
How do we teach our kids the values today? We
So
are competing with all the electronics, game shows, lack of time. a lot of information and misinformation, the main values.
So I think that it is a tragedy in education that education is not that much oriented towards teaching values. Uh, in, in,
There is
in,
a lack.
in the school system in general and in the American school system in particular, there is a strong emphasis on teaching information and teaching how to solve some kind of problems and not teaching how to solve other kind of problems. And the truth is, when we look at the world, the majority of the problems that the world is facing now is not due to a lack of creativity and information and, you know, knowledge of mathematics and sciences. The majority of the problems that we're facing now is due to the lack of ethical values. So the question is like, what is the school accomplishing when they rank themselves in reference to the kids' levels in algebra and not in
Ethical.
generosity, for example, or social justice, or loving kindness, morality in general? I believe that's a problem, and the next generations are going to pay the price of that problem. When I went to school, the main goal of school in those days was to teach children how to live together peacefully and how to build better societies. I didn't learn a lot of math or English, for example. I didn't learn a lot of English at school. And when I needed to learn English because I decided to come to the US, well, I learned English. That's something you can learn in 1, 2, 3 years. You'll get there. You'll have an accent, you'll work on that, you will read, you will write, you will learn. But if they don't teach you what's right and what's wrong when you are in your young years, there's no learning that. There's no, it's much more difficult to learn morality when you are an adult than to learn a language or to learn a science or to learn literature. If you are not taught that you cannot do to your fellow neighbor what you don't like to be done unto you, if you're not taught that, you know, when someone loses something, you have to return it, if you're not taught that taking advantage of those who are more vulnerable is not the right thing to do, or that sometimes you need to give up some privileges and some benefits in order to enable others to learn with you, that's something you're never going to learn. And I'm sad. I'm sad when I see that my kids, my own children, are being evaluated at school in terms of math and science and physics, and you know, they know all kind of things,
Exactly.
and they are not being evaluated in terms of how good of a classmate they are. You know, I was surprised, for example, when I read a couple of months ago with all this pandemic, how many people don't wash their hands before eating. You know, that's something you should learn at school. School should teach
Is
people.
it at school or is it at home?
Well, that's a very good question.
Because
I think school and home are partners.
correct, school and home are partners, but I think a lot of the people are endorsing some of the education that needs to happen in the home.
So every time I welcome a new family here at the religious school or for a bar mitzvah program, I tell them, like, listen, I'm going to do 50%. You need to do the other 50. And I will teach your children that we say a blessing over wine every Friday night. But if when they get home, you are not there, the table is not set, there's no plan for Shabbat dinner, everything that I do is useless. So I agree with you. Home plays an important role. But let's be honest, our children spend more time awake at school than at home. And with parents working full time, and in some cases more than one job, the school has a huge responsibility. I agree. Like my children know that they have to wash hands before eating because that's what we do at home.
But
I wish the school also inspire them in that sense. Or for example, when it comes to bullying, there is kind of an epidemic that
with
we are
the
living in.
epidemic, yes.
I can do a lot, but I also need the school to have that at the top of their priorities. And sure, you know, because of your involvement in local politics, schools here are ranked basically because of their level in math. That's all they care. That's
For the
I would say that's all they care, but that's
in testing.
yeah,
It's
testing.
a test. Either you do good
Standardized testing,
and
mainly
that's it.
math and some other things. Uh, and it's not the schools that are to blame, because when the kid applies to Harvard, Harvard is going to be looking at those grades, and it's not going to be looking that much at other
Not
aspects of,
necessarily. Some universities are totally changing the
yeah,
way
and
that
that's a
they're
blessing.
looking in at the admissions process.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
that's
the
a blessing
part,
because that's
the
going to force the
value.
schools to change.
Correct.
Uh,
But some of the values that you install in your kids, what can we do as parents? Except, well, going beyond giving an example.
well, I think as parents, one of the things we can do is to be involved. You know, the school system has a way for parents to be heard, to make their case for some things. We need to get involved. We need to see ourselves as partners with the teachers, with the administration, with our children, to ask them what are they learning, you know, how are they learning, how do they feel about that. But I still believe it is a challenge, and there needs to be a change, an overall change in the school system. I think that schools are there to teach us not only information. Schools need to have at the top of their priority to teach children what is good and what is not good, what is healthy and what is not healthy, what is right and what is wrong. I don't know, an appreciation of arts, for example. That's something that at least the public school system, my three children attend public schools. And there's not a lot in art, for example.
No,
There's
because
not,
that's also they have eliminated the recess time.
yeah,
They
no
can
recess.
actually play, which I think it's
And, and,
not
and
healthy.
and playing is a great vehicle when it comes to learning. I'll tell you, every Sunday when I help the pickup carpool at our religious school, if I have to put the kid in the car, I ask them two questions every Sunday, and the kids can attest to this. I ask them, did you learn? And then I ask them, did you have fun? And if one of the answers is no, I have a problem. They need to learn, and they also need to enjoy.
Correct.
Because they spend a lot of time there. But you know, it's a whole system that needs to be fixed. There's a lot when it comes to training the teachers. The teachers are not given the tools for that. In many cases, they are underpaid. They are under a lot of stress. No one, even if you are, you know, Robin Williams in that movie, the Death Poet Society, even if you are a great teacher, being in front of a class of 28 second graders, it's impossible. It's impossible because you need to remember the names, the family situation, everything that they are going through for each of your students. Actually, one of the greatest Jewish thinkers in our history, Maimonides, said that there is a limit to 20 students per teacher. And after that, you need to put a helper, because he already knew 1,000 years ago that for pedagogy to be effective, you cannot have overcrowded classrooms. Resources like you know, having the right tools for teaching, and not relying only on the whiteboard and the marker and the desks. having spaces for physical education. My daughter was telling me the other day that it was raining at school, so they had PE at the men's lockers room at the school. So how are you going to love sports if you're having physical education in a lockers room because it's raining? So yeah, I think we need to invest in education as a society. I have to say, having said all this, the city of Aventura is blessed with two wonderful charter schools, which are clearly above average in any sense. But you have to be lucky and win the lottery. I was not that lucky with none of my three kids. Hopefully, we'll be lucky next year when my son applies to Don Soffer High School. But when you move beyond the borders of our city, that is an oasis in what we are describing, the situation is quite challenging. And the city of Florida, when you look at the standardized tests,
Correct. It's the standardized
the state
test.
of Florida doesn't rank very high.
What if there was one thing that you would do to change the education or add to the education in this moment? What would be something?
So I would put the idea of raising committed, responsible, and caring citizens who know how to live with other people at the top of the list.
Wouldn't you do
If the
something
kids,
with parents? Because it
what?
starts also from the parents.
I know. Parents need, you know, parents, when parents are concerned with math and with other things because the system is pushing them towards there. If I know that my kid needs to have a good grade in the test, otherwise he will not make it into the college that I want, I will be deviated from my priorities because the system is pushing me towards there. And I believe that schools need, the whole educational system needs to have values at the top of their priorities. Values are more important than information. And I wanna talk about something that you asked me and I didn't evade, which is the role of technology here. Technology is a blessing. When I was in elementary school, there are so many things that I had to remember by heart. There was no asking Google. Like, if I want to know what's the capital city of Alabama, I will ask Siri and Siri will tell me. I know it is important, but the access to information is so fast in our days that wasting time on that is not very effective. My phone will not tell me what's right and what's wrong. Siri will never, ever learn what's right and what's wrong. You know, I always believe, just to give you an example, I always thought that high schools should teach their students how to drive. You know, one of the big challenges in our town is that there's so many drivers that are not good drivers in terms of being generous to the other, knowing how to yield,
But
when
how
to
to
stop for the
drive
pedestrians.
in a decent way.
Correct.
Like,
And I think it's much more important in terms of how do you build a healthy society for a school to teach a student how to drive responsibly and decently than to teach them something that eventually they can learn on Google. So instead of seeing technology as our enemy, we need to see technology as our partner. There's a lot of potential in technology if used well. It's like, you know, the same kind of science that enabled humanity to enabled humankind to do some medical tests. It's the same technology that enabled humankind to build atomic bombs.
yeah.
Right? Technology is, to use a Jewish term, technology is parv. It's not meat, it's not milk, it's not good, it's not bad. It's a resource. Ethics will tell you how to make a good use of that. And the problem is not technology. The problem is that schools are not teaching our students, our children, what's good and what's bad. They are giving them the tool, which is, can be either poison or medicine, depending on how it's used. They're throwing the tool and they are not teaching them. For example, one of my kids has a class in digital photography at school. So they learn how to take good pictures with their phones. There's no one there telling them how to not take pictures of some moments or parts of the body or lives of other people. They are being taught how to take a good picture, and that's actually something you can learn very easily in a YouTube video. I wish the school taught my kids, never take a picture of yourself naked. Never take a picture of a moment of intimacy with someone you love. Never post a picture of someone without their permission. That's something the schools need to teach. And I know parents need to be teaching that also, or mainly, perhaps, mainly. But schools need to play a role there.
You remind me of a story when my son was like, I think he was 6 or 7 years old, in first grade or second, that I opened his backpack and there was a box of colors that I didn't recognize. And I said, "Is this yours?" And he looked at me and yes, no, like I knew that it wasn't his, but I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. And he said, "Well, the teacher gave it to me." And I go, "So if I call the teacher to tell her to thank her for the colors, she's going to tell me why she gave it." No, 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 no. So that's when he said, "No, but it was in her desk. I took it." So I said, "Okay, bottom line, they're not yours. They were the teacher and you took it." "Yes, but she said that we could use them." "Yeah, but you took them and you brought them home." So the first thing he said is, "You're going to punish me." And I said, "No, I'm not going to punish you. You're going to go back to school and you're going to give the colors back. And you're going to say, 'Thank you. I'm sorry that I took them.'" I remember he was sick the whole weekend. And of course, Monday morning he had a stomachache and I knew why. He didn't want to go to the school. Before we got to the school, I called the teacher and I told her what was going on. Because if he just put the colors there, it wouldn't be, the lesson wouldn't have been given. So I told the teacher, he got and he put it, of course, I knew he was going to put it in her desk and leave. And in front of everyone, the teacher said, "Okay, what is this?" And he had to apologize to the teacher for taking that it wasn't his. That until today.
Oh, that's our role, right?
That's right from wrong.
Yeah, and also not only right from wrong, but something that I love about this example is that teaching, punishment is not the most effective vehicle for teaching.
Correct.
And when I see that schools have things, for example, like detention. I mean, I was shocked the first time my son told me that one of his classmates was put on detention. Really? Is it police station or it's a school? Is detention or when he said they confiscated my phone? Like those are heavy words, and I strongly believe in teaching from a place of love, and that's something that we should also include into this equation. Love plays a very important role when it comes to teaching, and by love I mean when a student is absent from school, the next day the first question they will listen from their teacher cannot be, "Did you ask your classmates what did we do yesterday? Did you do your homework?" First question should be, "Are you okay? Did anything happen to you at home? Are you healthy? Are your parents doing well? We missed you yesterday." Children learn so much better when they feel loved. And also our society needs so much love. Caring for each other, letting other people know that we are there for them. teaching our students that if there's a classmate that is absent, they should call and see what's going on, or send a text. If there's a neighbor who is sick, we should knock on the door and bring some chicken soup. In that sense, just to put it in a larger perspective, I believe that humankind has evolved in such a magnificent way when it comes to science and technology, but when it comes to morality, we're still Cain trying to kill Abel. There's not that much of evolution, and we're in the 21st century. I mean, we can fly to the moon and come back, and still we haven't learned how to care for each other. And this pandemic that we're going through, it's a great example. When I hear people saying, I don't care, I'm not going to wear my mask, I don't care, I'm free to do whatever I want with my life. And you don't, yeah, but there's someone else with you on the elevator. You don't care, but you should care, because that's another human being. For someone who is a person of faith, we would say that's the image of the divine. So you should care about other people's lives. And when you hear people saying, I couldn't care less, it's my life, and whoever happens to the rest of the world, screw them, I think that shows us that there's so little evolution when it comes to morality. We're still cavemen when it comes to ethics and morality, and I think it's about time we fix that. There's not a lot that is going to make our lives better from having faster smartphones. It's fine. I love technology. I have the last Android phone in the market, and I will have the next one when it becomes available. But nothing will change my life with having a better camera or a better screen definition. But if I can live in a world where people care about each other, that will definitely change my life. And the same goes for not only caring about each other, but also caring about the world we live to the future generations, teaching them to care about Mother Earth and our responsibility as guardians and custodians of this garden. It's also something that schools need to be putting at the top of their priorities.
So bottom line is kindness. And like you said when we started, not do to others what we don't want to be done to us.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you, as a rabbi, I need to also connect this with the experience of our people in the past century. We know what are the potential consequences of hatred and people not caring. I'm sure everyone knows the words of Elie Wiesel, who said that the Holocaust was possible not because of the evil people, but because of the indifference of normal people. So the consequences of not caring about each other are lethal, are tragic. We're not talking theory here. We are talking about something that we have experienced in the most educated nation on earth, because Germany 80, 90 years ago was the jewel of the crown. Everyone wanted to go to its universities and concerts and theaters and opera, and that country that knew a lot of philosophy and math and social sciences and technology for its days didn't learn its morality lesson, and the consequences were too serious.
Unfortunately, we're living it through it again.
Yeah.
As the hate crimes and anti-Semitism is rising.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really learning how to care for each other. That is the biggest lesson that we can leave all of you. Rabbi, I wish I could have all the time in the world, because we didn't even touch on the other questions I had. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Gladys. And let me wish the audience a beautiful season of lights. Whatever religion you profess, we are bringing more light into the world in this season. So if you're Jewish, it's your Hanukkah candles. If you're Christian, it's your trees. And if you're something else, it's just all the cities that bring more light into the world with their lights in public places. I think each of us, it's a small candle. And if we light that candle, the world will be brighter.
We need to shine a light on kindness.
Yeah.
So thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you so much. Above all, stay safe and until next week.
Same to you. Bye-bye.
Bye.